Oh, I would like to welcome all of you again to Solarize 101 virtual info session hosted by Solarize the Triad, as well as North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association and Renew Energy Solutions, which is the selected solar installer for Solarize the Triad, and Solar Crowdsource, the company that manages this community-based Solarize campaign. So my name is Emily Hurd, and I'll just be giving you an idea of what to expect this evening, and then we'll jump right in and get started. So in a moment, we'll hear from the head of Solar Crowdsource, Dawn Moreland, who's here with us this evening and will share an overview of Solarize the Triad, a community-based group purchase campaign in the Triad region. And then after Dawn shares with us about Solarize the Triad, we'll hear from Matt Abel of North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association. And he'll share with us about solar incentives, as well as give an overview of the policy landscape in North Carolina. And third, we'll hear from Renew Energy Solutions, the selected solar installer of Solarize the Triad, and Chris Berg will give us an overview about Renew Energy Solutions, how rooftop solar works, and what to expect from going solar with Solarize the Triad. Please hold your questions until the end. We'll have a Q&A session, and feel free to write those questions in the chat as we go. And just to let you all know, we are recording this event. The recording will be available to you through email and on our website as well after the event. So thank you so much for coming. Before I introduce Dawn Moreland, I'd like to point out that there are a number of steering committee members here from Solarize the Triad. If you are in the coalition of community partners that support Solarize the Triad, please give us a wave or a hand up. Thank you. Great. Dawn Moreland, take it away. So I'll be sharing my screen. Give me just a moment.
Great. Thank you, Emily. Hey, everybody. I'm Dawn Moreland with Solar Crowdsource, and we are working together with a bunch of organizations in the Triad area to try to make solar more affordable and more accessible than it might otherwise be outside a program like this. So our main objective is just that, more affordable and more accessible solar, but also we're not skimping on value. So it's also about getting the highest quality system at the most competitive price that we can. You can find out more about what we're trying to accomplish at solarizethetriad.com. And I know that there's a couple other coalition members in here, and I would like to just pause here for a second and recognize all of these amazing organizations that have come to rally around this program. There's been others like it in North Carolina, but nothing quite like this. We have just seen a tremendous community uptake on this, and then we've only launched about a month ago. I don't know, it was probably 32 days ago, and we're already exceeding expectations, which I'm sure we're going to get into here in a second. But let me hand it over to Matt. I don't want to put you on the spot there, but I do want to recognize you and all. You've been here since day one, and all the efforts for the campaign. Emily, if you can go back one slide there, and we'll hand it over to Matt for a second here.
Sure, thanks, Don. My name is Matt Mayers. I'm with Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm with the Winston-Salem chapter, but we're actually a national organization that also is active at the state level. And I've been involved, like Don said, with starting up this particular campaign since I got a call from my friend Will at the Piedmont Environmental Alliance, you can see their logo right next to ours. And he said, "Hey, do you want to help bring this kind of a thing to the Triad because it's been really successful in other parts of the state and the country?" And of course, I jumped on that because we're all about doing what is best for the climate. And when I found out that it was also a great way to help people save money when they go solar, I thought, what could be better? And one of the things that I really enjoyed was being part of also the committee that did the vetting to select Renew as part of the process because we wanted to make sure that in addition to the great monetary value that was being offered, we got an installer that was going to be top notch and dependable, somebody with really great track record, and they do everything in house. All of their service, all of their sales, all of their callbacks, everything is done by Renew for Renew. And they have great warranties. It's a thing where these days a lot of people are having a hard time figuring out who is a good solar installer. And so a terrific value of this campaign is that we've already figured that out for you. So I'll just leave it there and let the real experts talk about the details.
Well, I don't know about that real expert part, but I will try to follow that up. Thank you so much, Matt. I think we are missing one logo on that. Forsyth Habitat has joined us, and we'll make sure we get that corrected moving forward. All right. Well, I'll just have a few slides to walk you through, and then I'll hand it over to the real experts. But before I do have my Solarize the Triad t-shirt on, and I know that is terrible. It's not focused at all. But if you are interested in obtaining one of these fabulous Solarize the Triad t-shirts, put your information in the chat, and then we can find your email address and stuff in the database if you've already signed up for the program. If you haven't signed up for the program and you still want a t-shirt, then you got to sign up for the program. So that's where you go to solarizethetriad.com, and it's a quick sign up, takes 30 seconds, and you get an awesome free evaluation by the folks over at Renew Energy Solutions. So we talked about this already, but we're a bunch of community organizations that have gotten together, and like-minded organizations, and said, there's a better way to go solar, in a way that gets really high quality components at a more affordable price, but also has that community aspect to it where we have gone through a competitive bid process. We got a bunch of bids in from solar contractors around North Carolina, and ultimately you'll see why we chose Renew Energy Solutions. They're just a tremendous opportunity to work with them, and what they came to the table with. So we'll talk more about all that later. Solarize programs have also, though, there's a lot of crazy stuff out there. Let's face it. We call them bad actors, or people who are usually out of state who are offering you solar, but they don't install solar themselves. They are only a marketer, and then they hire a local contractor to install it. And sometimes these guys aren't exactly on the up and up, or they're misinformed. And so, these Solarize programs have also come to be known as a trusted place to go solar. You're getting the accurate information so you can make a wise business decision. So, and then, the last thing I'll say, as if you don't know already, is that it's more than just solar. The industry is evolving quite rapidly, and solar companies are having to become energy companies, just like Renew Energy Solutions. You notice solar is not in their name because they know what's going on, but working with a company like that that's offering more than just solar, battery storage, electric vehicle charging station upgrades and equipment, and and other things. It's just, kind of part of what these programs have also evolved to, and just couldn't be more excited to, just be part of that effort. Okay. Whoops. So we talked a lot about Solarize, but let's talk about solar real quick. This is Solar 101. And actually, we're kind of going backwards a little bit here. I'm here to tell you more about this whole program effort to make solar more affordable and accessible, but it's Chris Berg who's going to really kind of break things down on a very basic level, so we can understand more about actual solar energy and some of the technology behind it and things like that. So stay tuned. We're going to get to that, but before we do, there's just a lot of great reasons to go solar. I have solar on my home, and I save about $100, $150 a month, about 150, about 140 probably now. I have an 8 kilowatt system, and it really helps modulate things for us, especially increasing electricity prices, which we've seen a lot. Solar is one of these technologies that's doesn't require a lot of maintenance. I can't sit here and tell you it doesn't have any maintenance required, but it is kind of a set it and leave it technology, and you can monitor everything with your phone, and it gives you daily readouts, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly readouts. It's just so cool. And I look out the window, and every time I see it, the sun shining or it's light outside, I know I'm generating my own clean renewable energy. And you can get a tax credit to boot. The 30% federal tax credit comes with it. That's part of the Inflation Reduction Act, and we've got that for the next few years here through 2032. So, all right, Emily, we'll go to the next one. So we talked about what is Solarize, why solar, and and solar's been around for a long time, but why solar now? Why now? And here's, I'm going to add a sixth reason to this, but top 5 reasons are, this federal tax credit. There's already efforts in Congress that have tried to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. And if the election goes a certain way, then we know that there's already plans to repeal the tax credit portion of the Inflation Reduction Act. So not to scare you or anything, but just to say, it's here now. Take advantage of it now. Hopefully it'll be around for the next, 8 years or even further. But it's just important to go ahead and capture it now. And you can carry that tax credit forward for both the solar and battery portion. You can't do that with other Inflation Reduction Act tax credits, but you can still do that with the solar and batteries. You can carry that forward for subsequent years. So if you don't use the entire tax credit in the first year, you can use it in subsequent years. So rates are going up, and we're also using more electricity. I also have an electric vehicle parked out there, so that's consuming plenty of energy, and but it's a lot cheaper per mile. I just laugh when I drive down the road sometimes, but we're using more electricity. But in the Duke area, I know rates have gone up quite a bit in the last, say, 12 to 18 months, and that is, there's no reason to know that won't continue. So the reason why that's important is because what I said before, there's not a lot of maintenance required. You monitor everything on your phone. The source of the electricity is free. It's the light that falls on your property every day. And so there's not a lot of ongoing fuel costs or, having repairmen come out. So it's every time the rates go up from the utility company, the more valuable your system becomes, which is also kind of a fun thing to know. The other thing I want to add in here, which Matt is going to tell us more about, is that there's a lot of programs available through Duke, the utility company, where if you participate in certain programming, you can get even more rebates from Duke Energy, because they want to connect. If you're going to put this system on your house, they want to be able to interact with you. And if they have an event where they need energy from your battery, for example, they want to compensate you for that. And so you're kind of being part of the whole electricity infrastructure at that point. So it's a really exciting time, and that is all part of this program and captured here too, which you're going to hear more about. And the Solarize program is only going to last, you have to sign up by the end of November. So tell your friends and family in the area. And then we have contract deadlines that come after that for residential, and then another deadline for commercial. So go to solarizethetriangle.com. All that information is available on there. And just make sure you sign up by November 30th and you should be okay. All right. Here's how the pricing works. Like I said, we've had a great start so far. So I'm going to look at the very top chart of the residential tiered pricing. And this is based on Q cells. Renew is also offering another solar panel that can get you an additional 15 cents per watt discount from what you're seeing here. The solar panel that's being part of this pricing tier is the Q cell. I think it's like a 410 Chris or 415 watt cell. Watt panel. But we are already in tier 4. Things have blown up. Like, I think there's 22 contracts that have been signed so far that add up to over 250 kilowatts of aggregated electricity capacity that we have so far. And over 90% of those people have also adopted a battery because they want to participate in this Duke Energy Power program that we're going to hear more about. So we're on our way to tier 8 already. That's our goal. If we can get enough people to sign up through this program and go solar to add up to 526 kilowatts of electricity, which at this point we're averaging, Emily, help me out here, I think maybe 11 kilowatts per project. So I don't know how many projects that comes out to reach tier 8, but we're already well on our way there. Something like probably 60 contracts or so, and we've got 22 in the books. Oh yeah, there's the pricing for the CertainTeed panel right below there. You can see the additional 15-cent discount off the rate before. They're both really good panels. I have Q-Cell on my roof. It's just a fantastic product. They're made right here in the Southeast in Georgia. They have a giant manufacturing facility, so it's a Georgia-made product and something we're proud to offer through the program. All right, Emily, let's see what we got next. Commercial pricing is a little bit different. It's based on a per project, per size type system. So what you're seeing here is if, for example, you got a commercial meter, you've got a commercial deal with a utility company, you can get a commercial project. And so if it's between 20 and 50 kilowatts, that's the tier 1. So you would pay somewhere around $200 or $2.32 per watt for that. Commercial is different, and Chris can maybe talk to this later, is that there's so many different things you can do, whereas residential is more kind of commoditized. For commercial, these are kind of ballpark figures. Like when they give you an evaluation, they'll really nail it down to what it is, what it's going to be per watt for your particular location, taking into consideration your particular site conditions there. So all right, let's move on to the next one. This is kind of what I just wanted to, all of this means, which I could have said and saved us a lot of time, is that we've already vetted the contractors and the materials, and we know what the pricing is all through that competitive bid process. This is a safe space and a trusted information you're going to get out of this program with community support. And we're also excited. You're going to find out more about us bringing on additional programming with some of the partners that we're working on that could include workforce development in solar, and also ways to help reduce the upfront cost for low and moderate income residents in the area. So we're really excited about what we're doing now, but we still have a lot more work to do. Pardon me. Okay, Emily. All right, important dates. I mentioned it before. We do need you to, everybody's got to sign up by the end of November. And then we do give some time after that. Pardon me. What we find, a lot of people just sign up at the last minute. Maybe they just heard about it. So we need to give them time to get their proposals and financing if they want to, or homeowners association approval, things like that. And then for commercial, we give even more time. So you got till February 28th next year for residential, and then 3 months after that for commercial. All right, next.
Hey, Matt Abel, we'd love to hear from you. Are you still there?
I'm here. Can you all hear me all
Hi.
right?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for inviting me to join y'all, and excited to hear about all of the great progress that's been made thus far with the Solarize the Triad program. And I'm just tremendously appreciative of all of the work from all of those different organizations that have been involved in standing up this program that were highlighted on that initial slide shared by Emily and Don. And they've asked us at NCSEA to join this evening to talk a little bit about our organization and some of the incentives and policies in place for homeowners in North Carolina who are considering installing solar. So before I dive into those policies, just a quick background on our organization. So I'm Matt Abel. I'm NCSEA's executive director. And our organization, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're based in Raleigh, but we cover the entire state of North Carolina. And we are a membership organization with about 200 members across the state that are consistent of rooftop solar companies, nonprofit organizations. I know Matt earlier, he is also a member with CCL of NCSEA, and I know there are a couple of other folks here as well that are members, and including Solar Crowdsource and Renew as well. And we work on behalf of our members and our partners at various decision-making venues like the North Carolina Utilities Commission, the North Carolina General Assembly, and various state agencies in the governor's office to advance clean energy policy here in North Carolina. And we've been around since 1978. So next slide, please. And I covered a little bit of this in the last slide, so we can just skip right on ahead. And aside from just solar, our organization covers a lot of different sectors in North Carolina, highlighted here, including EVs, wind, energy efficiency, energy storage, large solar, commercial solar, really the whole gamut of sectors that are comprised of the clean energy space. So going beyond some of the work that we do as an organization, I want to dive in directly to some of the rate structures and policies that are currently in place for residential solar customers. And I promise not to get too wonky, but I'm happy to help answer any follow-up questions about some of these afterwards. So right now in North Carolina, you probably heard, last year was a somewhat transformative year for the residential solar space in North Carolina, where we shifted away from our long-standing policy of net metering for residential solar for both Duke Energy Carolinas and Duke Energy Progress customers, and shifted to a new rate structure called the net metering bridge rate or bridge rider. And essentially for most customers that enroll in North Carolina or sign up as a new residential solar customer, this bridge rider is what you will be enrolling under. Although there is an alternative that is also available, which is the solar choice rider, which is a time of use rate structure, which is a little more involved for a residential customer. And so we don't see a lot of people currently enrolling on that rate structure. So I'll talk a little bit more about this bridge rate here first. So previously in North Carolina, under the traditional one-to-one net metering, the idea was that if you installed solar on your roof, anytime your system was producing more power than you were consuming as a customer, it would essentially spin your meter backwards, and you would be credited for that excess electricity at the full retail rate that you would be paying for power. So if you as a customer are paying, let's say, 11 or 12 cents a kilowatt hour, any excess generation that you're producing, you're getting credited at that 11 or 12 cents a kilowatt hour. And essentially what the utility would do is roll over that credit into your next month's bill. And you would continue to roll over those credits until I think it was a May reset period every year, and the utility would reset those excess credits back to zero. And essentially, under that structure, right, you could be operating in a way that you were paying almost $0 a month in electricity bills month over month. And we've now sort of shifted gears and moved to this new structure that went into effect starting October 1st of last year, in which with your system itself, any excess electricity that you generate above and beyond what you are consuming on site or using to charge your battery, you are getting credited by the utility at what is called an avoided cost rate. So instead of getting credited at a full 11 or 12 cents a kilowatt hour, I believe the avoided cost rate is something like 4 or 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's not quite where we were before, but it is still still a good structure that still enables a residential customer, solar customer, to have their system pencil out and make a lot of financial sense moving forward. And especially when you stack that on top of the power pair program that I'll talk about here in just a minute. The one piece of this that I did want to flag is, as we did transition over to this new rate structure, we did see the utilities institute some minimum monthly bill charges. So if, for example, you talk to a residential solar installer that is not a part of the Solarize program, or have had conversations with others that are not a part of the Solarize program, and they have promised you that your utility bill is going to be $0 every month, that is just simply not the case, because there is now a monthly minimum bill charge that you have to pay. And sort of the justification or reasoning behind that from the utilities perspective is a cost of service of being able to utilize the utilities distribution infrastructure essentially as a backup battery, right? If you do have a period of time in which your battery or your solar system isn't covering all of your load at your house. So, so that's essentially what's in place right now. And under this net metering bridge, there are annual capacity limits in terms of the amount of customers that are able to subscribe to this net metering bridge each year. Fortunately, the way that we are tracking right now is it doesn't look like we're at risk of hitting that cap anytime soon. So it's pretty safe to say that if you sign a contract with Renew or another solar installer, you will most likely be going down the route of this bridge rate. So I'm going to go to let's go to the next slide, which provides a little bit more detail about this bridge rate here as well. And essentially the main point that I wanted to point out here is that once you enroll in this new bridge rate structure, you are under this structure for 15 years, grandfathered in. And then after that period of 15 years, you will then transition over to the solar choice rider, which is this time of use rate structure. And again, it's a little bit more involved. But fortunately, as we see with most customers who are installing a battery, like a Tesla Powerwall, for example, it makes that rate structure much more easy to manage, a lot less to think about. So I won't go into a ton of detail there because I could talk about that at length. So let's go ahead and go on over to the next slide here. And I do like to point folks to a solar calculator that is on Duke Energy's website. Although in any conversations that you're going to have with a reputable installer, they'll be able to help you calculate this out specific to your home. As we see with this solar calculator that's on Duke's website, it's not exactly specific to your exact residence, and it might not be pulling in historical utility data like a installer might be able to provide you when you're having a more in-depth conversation. But it's a good, at least sort of initial look at savings that you can anticipate seeing on your utility bill. There's a long convoluted URL there. But I'd encourage you just to type in Duke Energy Solar Estimator in case you are curious to explore that tool. All right, next slide. Okay, and Don did a really good job of teeing up some of this earlier, so I won't talk too much at length about this, but as Don mentioned, there is currently a 30% federal tax credit that is available for both solar and for battery storage that was extended under the Inflation Reduction Act. And there's also a 30% federal tax credit that is currently available on EV charging equipment, dependent on your location and the census tract that you fall under. And then, of course, I think a lot of folks know about the $7,500 vehicle tax credit, electric vehicle tax credit as well, which is dependent upon the vehicle that you might be interested in purchasing and how much of that battery was manufactured here in the United States. And additionally, one other incentive, it's not necessarily directly related to the Solarize program that I wanted to point out, is Duke Energy's EV Charger Prep Credit Program. I think this one flies under the radar quite a bit, but is a program that we worked very closely with Duke to help put in place. And so essentially what this charger prep credit is, if you are a Duke customer and interested in installing a level 2 EV charger in your home, oftentimes you will need to upgrade some of the electrical equipment, whether that be breakers in your circuit panel or adding in conduit to run to where you want to install the EV charger. And under this program, Duke will cover the costs of all of those electrical upgrades up to $1,117. And so it's a really great program. I've participated in it myself. I installed my EV charger here in my house, or I had an electrician come in and do it. I took the invoice, I sent it to Duke. They sent me a check in the mail covering the entire cost of adding in all of that equipment. So a great program. And if you're interested in that, I'd recommend just Google searching EV Charger Prep Credit. All right, next slide. Okay, the really exciting program that is currently available right now through Duke Energy. And I know a program that Renew is very familiar with as an approved trade ally under this program. And so essentially for any solar installer to offer this incentive or rebate as part of an installation, they need to be an approved trade ally with Duke to ensure that the company is, up to standards on sales and marketing practices and are truly delivering on what they are promising to customers. And so you can also check out on Duke's website their approved trade allies to ensure that companies you're working with are truly vetted through their system. So the Power Pair program is a program that went into effect a little bit earlier this year and essentially offers an upfront rebate to customers who install a battery along with their solar. And so the idea is you will receive a 36-cent a watt incentive towards the cost of the solar PV, and then a $400 a kilowatt hour incentive for your battery up to those system sizes that are on the screen there. with a potential total rebate up to $9,000, which is a pretty significant rebate for a solar and residential battery installation. And that's not all. There's an additional incentive as well if you do elect to enroll in Duke's Energy Wise program. I believe Don mentioned earlier, if you essentially, this is a program that allows Duke to take control of your battery during certain times of the year to help mitigate any sort of constraint on the grid at that time. Let's say we're in the middle of the summer and everybody's running their AC and there's not a whole lot of excess generation capacity coming from the grid. The utility would love to utilize some of those batteries out there to reduce some of that strain. And depending on the battery that is being installed, and you can look on Duke's website and see all of the batteries that are approved under their Energy Wise program, you can receive up to potentially $796 of bill credit each year that is paid sort of as a monthly bill credit as well. And so combined between the $9,000 incentive and then this ongoing rebate, the Power Pair program is a really appetizing incentive for customers in considering installing solar. All right, next slide. And the way the program has been set up, it's been set up as a pilot program, although we would eventually love to have this program instated as a full program in perpetuity. But right now it's a pilot, and the Utilities Commission ordered that the program have a certain available capacity in both Duke Energy Carolinas and Duke Energy Progress. Fortunately, Duke every month publishes how much remaining capacity is available in each of those operating territories. And as you can see here, we've got quite a bit of remaining capacity. So I wouldn't sweat in the next month or two if you enroll that you wouldn't be eligible. It seems like there's plenty of capacity remaining under the program. And again, your installer that you work with should be pretty knowledgeable on whether you would be eligible and how much remaining capacity is available. And it's now available on a first come, first serve basis, rolling applications now that we're through the initial enrollment window. So available to folks now if you're interested. Next slide. And then just quickly highlighting a few additional resources, going back to, I think what Matt had highlighted at the beginning, right, is it can be difficult to find a reputable, good installer in North Carolina or anywhere across the country, right? And for any homeowner out there, I can attest myself, after moving into my home, I had a lot of different companies come and knock on my door, and it's very difficult to often sort of wade through all the information to determine what's accurate, who's going to be the best installer, who's got the best, customer reputation, customer service. And so for that reason, our organization and CSEA has put together a number of resources available to customers throughout the state, including what we call our Solar Business Code of Conduct, in which any installer that joins NCSEA as a member is required to sign this code of conduct, ensuring that they're going to practice ethical marketing, sales, and also have the highest standard for customer service as well. And so on our North Carolina Solar Consumer Guide website, you can check out the business code and you can see all of the installers who have signed that code of conduct, and rest assured, feel really good about any of the installers that you work with there. We also have a really good guide on there highlighting all the things that you should know before installing solar and the types of questions that you should be asking your installer. Last thing, I included some logos on that bottom corner there that highlight some good resources of potential places to go to learn about some other incentives that maybe fall outside of the scope of what we're talking about here, including things like other electric appliances for your home or energy efficiency upgrades you want to make to your home. And so I'd encourage you to check out those resources. And I think that's about it for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. How's everybody doing out there? Give me a thumbs up or a wave. I can see you all. Good. Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be together. We've still got some really juicy information from Renew Energy Solutions. And Matt, this slide is about a podcast by NCSEA So please check out the Squeaky Clean Energy podcast every 2 weeks. So now we'd like to hear from Chris Berg from Renew Energy Solutions. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Let me ask the question. Can you hear me? Right, the habitual Zoom question. Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you for attending this evening. I'm Chris Berg, the Senior Director of Sales at Renew Energy Solutions. We're honored. We're thrilled to be a part of this campaign. I want to start with this message of like what's our intention here. Our intention is to get as much information out in the community, specifically to homeowners, about their solar and sustainable viability. I think it's important that you have facts on if your house is conducive for solar and if solar is also then conducive for you and your home. We are a customer-centric approach company. We'll talk about that and who Renew is in just a second, but I want to lean into that first. Like, obviously, we want to hit the lowest pricing tier for everybody. We have failed if we haven't achieved that, but it starts with we want to just be able to give you and people you know information about how this works for your home. Could it work for your home? If it could, if it couldn't, let you make the best decision for your family. And it starts there. So Renew Energy Solutions, we're going on almost 15 years in business. We were born and bred here in the Carolinas, headquartered out of Charlotte. We have 6,000 plus residential and commercial solar installations in states. And we love the Carolinas. So an opportunity to partner with Solar Crowdsource and go through their rigorous interview and vetting process. Trust me, they did not take it easy on us, nor should they have, to find a vetted contractor. We were honored to be chosen. So we are from the Carolinas. We are in the Carolinas. And I will tell you a little more, Emily. We can go to the next slide about who we are and kind of how our business is built. I think about our business really in three big silos that build into this massive structure. Renew Energy is our residential line of business, again, that has now over 5,000 residential solar installations in the Carolinas. We have a commercial division that has supported many businesses. Some of the coalition members have a Renew Energy system or are going to have one on their business, and we really appreciate that. I would say the difference when you look at a turnkey installer, it is also the third pillar of our company, which is called Sun Service. We developed a solar service division to support our customers after installation and operation several years ago, and that has turned into quite a robust thing. It is the premise there, folks, is the most important customer that we have is the one we already have, and we want to make sure that when we stand by warranties, that when we stand by our work, you don't have to know who to call if something should happen with this technology in the future. Because let's face it, it's technology. Something could happen. That's why you have some really great warranties attached to them. But we now have all of our 6,000 customers that we can service, and we have adopted quite a few others that don't have someone to call. If you add them all up, we have about 20,000 customers in the Carolinas and a little bit of the outstretching area that can call Renew to support their system. That makes us, I believe, the largest solar service company on the East Coast. So it's most important for us to take care of you, not only day one, but for the years to come. So we've been around, like I said, 15 years. We are completely in-house. Everyone that you talk to on the phone, that comes to meet you, that installs at your facility, that you call to take care of after the fact, or a W-2 employee that works for us. That is very important for our quality, and it's mostly around that customer-centric approach to give you the best overall value. You can see some images down below. We took a little different approach when we put our RFP in here. We gave a couple options for panels. I think that surprised some of the coalition members and Solar Crowdsource. We're not a one-size-fits-all business. We never have been. We are an agnostic company that can touch and feel the best options in the industry for our customers, and we want to give you options. And so it would not behoove us, as from a character standpoint, to only offer one type of panel for you. And so we offered two great ones: the Q-Cell 430, and then a Certainty 370-watt panel. I'll lean into that for a second. Well, Chris, why two? Like, what's the difference? Obviously, the one has a little bit of a lower price. Well, that's exactly the reason why we're supporting a community, and there's not a one size fits all approach for a community. Communities are diverse, and we want to be able to give options for customers that may have smaller roof planes that want to get higher production per square foot or more power per panel. And we may have people that have more space on their roof and can fit more panels and do that at an even lower cost. So a lot of options between those two. And then we did keep it simple on the battery. We went with really the most robust thing that's out there right now, most affordable, and that's the Tesla Powerwall 3 battery backup battery. So that's a little bit more about Renew. I'll continue to move forward here with some more information. So like Don, have solar on my house. Best decision I made several years ago. And let me tell you a little bit about how that works and how it can work for you. Very simply, we're going to put panels on the property or on the house primarily, and we're going to power the home from those panels. The panels first convert energy in the form of direct current, and then that current needs to be converted into alternating current. So we push that through an inverter to convert it from DC to AC. And then, as Matt described, the policy that you will hear about most is coming from Duke Energy, and you would fall under a net metering bridge that allows you to keep up to your same level of consumption on a net value or a one-to-one, and then excess over your consumption is bought back at the end of your billing cycle at avoided cost. That's very tricky to understand if you've never heard about solar before, so I'd recommend let us come tell you about it at your house. But in short, we're going to convert it from DC to AC from the panels to your home so you can use stable energy. It's going to flow through the meter that's going to be tracked for your credits for all your consumption. And then again, that excess goes to the grid and or goes to your battery, which we're seeing 9 out of 10 customers want that excess energy to go to their own battery, and opt into Power Pair with Duke Energy so that you can own that and use your own energy at night or during outages or other things like that. So just a quick overview of sun energy into home energy, into excess goes into the battery energy. And then with the battery, you have what's called a virtual power plant, or now a self-revolving mechanism to not only power the home, but keep you sustainable at night and or through outages. So it's a little bit about how solar works on the house. We can move forward to the next slide, Emily. When you register at solarizethetriad.com, it starts with a very simple evaluation. You're going to get a call from our personnel working in-house here in the Carolinas. No out of the state or overseas phone calls. These, you're going to hear a little bit of Southern twang on the other end of the phone. Someone's going to ask you a couple questions, and we're going to want to know kind of how much electricity you use. We're going to pull up your house on a project sunroof or Google Maps, if you will, and look at any potential shading issues that could be there so we can talk about those up front. We're going to ask if you know how old your roof is and kind of talk about what your potential direction could be and really maybe your initial motivations for wanting to hear more information about sustainable energy for your house. We do that so that you can get some vetted information on the phone, and then primarily we need to really come out to the house. I explain it this way: is if you're going to have something happen to your HVAC unit or some critical part of your house, you're probably going to want them to come out to the house and diagnose what's wrong with the HVAC unit or what's going on. If you want someone to talk about powering your entire house, really critical to come out and look at it. And so we send someone out complimentary for you, one of our specialists, to do several things and talk about the opportunity for renewable energy for your house. And we schedule that date and time with you. For safety reasons, you actually get an email with the individual's face and name and phone number of who's coming out to your house. So even though they might show up in a Renew shirt, you already know who's coming out ahead of time. So that'll happen through the phone call, and we're going to schedule the consultation. We can keep going, Emily. to the next slide. So let's say we get out to your house. How does that feel like? And maybe what's the next potential steps? This is a critical question. We get some common questions when we get out to the house, and this is one of them. Kind of, how long could this take? And so I'd love to go through this with you. An evaluation at your house usually takes about an hour. It could be less, could be more. You start asking really good questions. And if you're not kicking us out of the house, we might hang out a little longer than an hour. But we're talking about powering your house, so please ask all those good questions. If everything makes sense, first and foremost, this is your decision. We're not going to pressure you into anything. We're going to give you the information to make the best decisions. But let's say that it makes sense for you and you want to move forward. We sign an electronic agreement to get the process started. After that, we're going to schedule a site survey with you. That's going to be a technician coming out to the house to really do some bones work, look in the attic, pull back your electrical panel, take a lot of photos. They're actually going to fly a drone over the house and get an up-to-date 3D rendering model so that we can make sure that the original design that you got is similar, or we can at least give you a proper update. After that, or in conjunction with that part, after we've started the contract, we're going to be working on your design. We're going to be working on permitting with your county. We're going to be talking to your HOA if you happen to have one of those. So no, you do not have to deal with the HOA unless the HOA makes you deal with them. We do that for you as part of this process. We're also dealing with Duke Energy or your power company to work towards interconnection. So step 6 there is really the timeline. So from saying yes and wanting to move forward to install day, we're about 8 to 10 weeks. So it's pretty quick. Half of that is about the site survey and getting that done and all that good information back to our team. But we're working in the background on some of the stuff in step 4. Installation, 1 to 2 days. Very quick. You'd be surprised with how quick an install goes. Considering getting on the roof and putting stuff up. These are, again, in-house quality team members that have been doing this for a long time and are great at what they do. So installs very quick. You're not going to be sitting there without power for 1 or 2 days. That's not how it works. The switch on and switch off is actually very quick. And then after install, this is construction like any other formal construction. We have to pass inspection, and then we are able to pop the bottle of champagne, turn your system on, and let you start powering your home from the sun. So total timeline from start to finish there of say yes, go solar, and I got a system working on my house. We're around 12 weeks right now. So very quick. That is a well above industry average from sign to install and quality work. And again, I attribute that to who we are as a company. We do it in-house. We don't have to wait. We can just push the project forward to support you and your aspirations for renewable energy. We can keep going forward to the next slide. With a community-based event, it's very important that we have options. The other 2 questions that I get quite often in a home is how much does it cost? And I'm going to give you an example of that in just a second. And then how affordable is it, or how much do I have to pay out of pocket? Those are probably the other 2 questions. We have options. There are obviously out-of-pocket options that we drive with our consumers and with our homeowners, but the traditional model is most people treat this kind of like a power bill. They want to put it on a note and pay it off over time. Unlike your power bill, that's never-ending debt that you're never going to get rid of, right? But you can put your solar purchase on a nice, very clean note that doesn't require you to put any money down, and actually just start making payments towards your solar after your system is installed and you're starting to get operation on the house. So we have several in the effort of a diverse and inclusive program, and I just want to show that so that we try to support the entire community through this effort. We'll continue to move forward here, Emily. I have a screen froze a little bit. Is that me? Okay, there we go. I want to give an example here. So please, if you haven't had your consultation from us yet, or maybe you've had one in the past from somebody, I will say this is truly just an example. But let's say that you're doing pretty well and you're probably spending about $100 a month with your power company right now. As we know, that cost is not going to stay the same. It wasn't that the cost of electricity wasn't any less more affordable, and won't be more affordable in the future. There's inflation related to that. So we're pretty conservative with our modeling. We say, hey, if you're spending about $100 a month on power right now, at a very moderate increase of 4% per year, you're easily getting over, almost $50,000 over 25 years. Why 25 years, Chris? 25 years is a heck of a long time. 25 years because that wraps back to our products and our warranties. So our panels that we put on the house, the racking that we put on the house, really everything that goes on there, except for the battery, has a 25-year warranty on it. It has a warranty on the product. It has a warranty to perform for 25 years. And it actually has a warranty on the labor in case we need to roll a truck. We made sure to use products that had all of those encompassing for this. So if I think about that, well, what's the difference in this over the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years versus a 25-year warranty system? The only difference there, for clear transparency, is batteries are quite different. Batteries have a great 10-year warranty on them that are set to last for 25 to 30 years based on their life cycle. So this is just an example of kind of what's my current cost of electricity and how can that impact continue to be felt over time. I want you to just think about this graph kind of as from year 1 to year 25, because I'll reference it here in a second. So we can keep going forward, Emily. I wanted to give you an estimate. If you're spending about $100 a month and you have a really good conducive house for solar, like we looked at before, you have access to plenty of sun, you're not covered by beautiful trees. Please don't get rid of those trees unless that's absolutely what you wanted to do, or there's a safety concern with your trees. We don't want you to cut any trees down, but you obviously need direct sun to produce those energy on the panels. So at $100 a month with a good home for solar that's got a lot of sun year round, here's 2 different options under this campaign that you can look at. One is solar only on the left, and one is solar with a battery on the right. You can look at the gross cost. I'll go quickly through this because I know you can read what we're looking at, but you can see the gross cost there. You have a 30% federal tax credit. And based on where we're currently at from our current tiers in Solarize to where we could be if we continue to share the greatness with this campaign over the next several months, you could potentially, on the solar only purchase, have an additional rebate there, bringing your net cost of your system to just under $7,500. That's an ROI on that graph that we looked at of the continued monthly dump into Duke that has to happen no matter what. You're going to spend that net amount of money over about 6 years no matter what. So if you looked at that from a monthly standpoint, hey, Chris, if I wanted to just pay for this thing per month, not have to come out of pocket at all, you were spending $100 per month, you could just go solar and instantly be spending less for the same amount of electricity, which is quite attractive to look at, right? Here's where it gets really robust and why so many people are adding the battery. You can see the gross cost. The 30% of that gross cost is still there. The power pair incentive that Matt was talking about for this size system would be $7,200 estimated from Duke. So that is a rebate check. We have customers that have already received their check from the early adopters to power pair, instantly bringing down your net cost. Again, Solarize rebate to bring down a rebate from Renew at the end of this campaign for wherever we finish, from whatever you sign up at to wherever we finish the campaign is what that rebate is. Bringing the net cost of this system to just over $9,200, which is less than an 8-year ROI. And I add there, not just to have electricity, but to also have a battery on your house to keep you grid independent from the grid if the grid goes down. You have a battery for dedicated circuits to power your home and or power your home at night instead of pulling from Duke, ultimately helping you save even more. Again, possible monthly payment here is right out of the gate is about $133 a month. What's so attractive to that is if you took the power pair incentive that comes back from Duke, and put that towards your principal purchase on the finance term, your payment could get as low as $81. So it's extremely aggressive. The other thing that I like to note on this screen is these batteries are very, very technical. They are awesome, right? This is not cheap, nor should it be cheap technology. You get a battery from your house, which the Tesla Powerwall 3, by all reviews, is really leading the charge right now. You get that from a net cost standpoint of just going solar to solar and a battery for very little. It is as affordable as it has ever been. I've had a battery on my house for 3 years. I wouldn't take it back because it saved me during several outages for sure, but I'm a little jealous. I'm going to tell you that this is really, really aggressive. It is by far the most aggressive incentive to put solar and a battery on your house in the entire country, and we have it in North Carolina. So that's just an example of what, a system for that size amount of power bill to properly offset your energy and put either solar or solar on a battery could look like. Again, it's not a one size fits all. I recommend you get the consultation. It's free, doesn't cost you anything other than a bit of your time to learn, and we'd be happy to send out a specialist to your house. We'll keep going here, Emily, and we can close. We're close to finish, people. There was a couple other things people wanted to see, like an example of a proposal. Our proposal is not very long. It's like 7 or 8 pages. You get to see a little bit about Renew, our warranties, the guarantees that we have, but a couple important things. You do get a 3D picture of your house that we render on site at your consultation. This is my house. You can see the existing solar that's already in the middle of it. So please, by any means, I wouldn't design a system like this. That looks very funny. I just wanted to show you that we can really design a system however you want for your house. So I designed a system off of our example, which is just over 5 kilowatts. So you get to see what it can look like, so you can share that with your family and friends post the assessment at your house. You also have a breakdown of the products that we're using. And then on the next slide, what's really most important as well is you really have that cost breakdown. What's the gross cost of the system? Where are the extra incentives to help drive down my net cost? If I wanted to do maybe a lending term, here's an option of a lending term where I don't have to put any money down. These are simple interest notes. You can pay these things off in whatever the term is, or you can pay them off in a year if you want with no penalty. So we use lenders that don't have any prepayment penalties and allow you to really take advantage of a no money down option with some really close to prime rates. So I think we'll close after here. I think we're getting to that point. Emily, go to the next slide. Again, the savings, it starts with the knowledge. I would advise you, please, if you're interested, what could this be for me, or you have questions, it's only going to take an hour of your time, and it is our pleasure to come out and give you a specific potential solution, or just as much tell you that this probably isn't the best option for you, but at least you know. And that's exactly what we will do. We're excited to be here. Please go to solarizethetriad.com, share this with your family and friends. We want to get this price as low as possible for everybody, and more importantly, talk to as many people and give them facts. So I will stop there, and we can, I believe, open it up for a Q&A.
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, so now we have some time devoted to allow you all to ask questions. You're welcome to put those questions in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask aloud, please feel free to do that now. I had a lot of great information from Solar Crowdsource, North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association, and Renew Energy Solutions. So we may have just about covered it, but I see there are a couple of questions now. The first one is, if your roof is close to needing replacement, is that a separate contractor or by Renew?
That's a great question. It is a separate contractor. We We work on roofs every day, but we don't fully replace them in-house. What we do have is a lot of vetted partners that we've used over the years that we can recommend. A lot of people already have a good roofer. I would say do that as well, but it would be a separate contractor. And if it's close to replacement, we would be telling you that as well. That would need to be something that we could either support you with finding out more information on from a roofing contractor before going solar, or in conjunction with going solar. But we would also kind of pump the brakes on saying, wait for a second, and we'll attack this after we have a first solution on the roof.
Thanks, Chris. Next question. I saw 6.99% interest rate. Is that a set rate?
That rate is set. So if you sign it, it's not a adjustable rate. It is a fixed rate with any of our lending options. I would say you saw the diverse amount of lenders that we have. Most hover around that rate, close to prime, a little bit close to that. We like those because they don't cost you that much money. You can obviously buy down rates that can substantially increase the principal to lower an interest, but we've got some really good providers. You saw on the screen Dividend, they're a subsidy of Fifth Third Bank that does renewable energy loans. We have several banks like that. All of them offer fixed loans, fixed interest with no prepayment penalty. The one that we select for you would be contingent on what's really best for the home and the property, but most hover around that and are fixed.
All right, great. Next question. For Chris, I read a news story today that said that your parent company is going to close down. How will that affect Renew?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we some unfortunate news. If you're close to the industry, we were acquired from an investment standpoint by a company called Swell Energy, California-based company, early this year in January. Truly an investment acquisition. They operate really in the grid services part of the industry, which is utilities talking to homes and providing feedback. They do not and did not work in the solar construction part of the industry like we do. So they were acquiring us from an investment, trying to unravel the portfolio. I would say what's made us last for 15 years is also a very important way that we handled this acquisition, where we had a lot of due diligence to understand each other through the partnership. They did a lot of great things while we were with them, but last week, before the news came out this week, we actually had the decision to divest away from that acquisition. It was part of the diligence that we had the option to. Still a sad day. There's a lot of people that received some very bad news from their company recently. How does that affect Renew? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. We had an investment acquisition, again, that someone who does not operate fully in the solar construction space. They were trying to understand it. And so we are operating just as we were before that acquisition, if not even stronger, because we have a lot of bigger relationships than we've ever had before. So business does not change for us. This opportunity, more forwardly, we would have had to communicate with solar crowdsource if that was the case. Quite the opposite. We're ready to go faster and more forward than ever.
Thank you. We have a couple more questions. The next one is, where can we see the contract with Renew?
Yeah, after you can see it at your consultation if it gets to that point. So we can provide that after we've been able to design, render, go through. We could provide that to you on site with your specific home, your estimated production. You can get that in the form of a proposal, and you can get that in the form of the formal agreement so that you can review all of our warranty verbiage, our production guarantees, and everything that goes into what legally is a contract, but we think about as an agreement between our customers and Renew Energy, but that you can receive it that quickly.
Okay, great. The next question is about the credits, including tax credit, perhaps power repair, as well as the Solarize the Triad rebate. I assume we must pay the estimated cost and then seek the credits. how many of your customers realize the full credits?
So I think I understand everything in that question. Please elaborate. I believe it's Steve. If you would like, let me know if I don't answer this for you. It's a couple different incentives there that we talked about. Federal tax credit. If we're talking about, let's just go off of a term of a finance term. The lender does give you about a year and a half from installation to claim said tax credits and help buy down principal to keep your rate low. You don't have to do that. Those are your tax credits. It's called a voluntary payment with the lenders. So you can keep it, use it yourself. You can buy down your principal, which is what most people do. But the lender actually gives you a fixed monthly cost for the first 16 to 18 months, depending on the lender out of the gate. So you're not having to pay for it before you've actually had the chance to recoup it potentially. Vast majority of our customers receive it. We're not CPAs by trade, but we do ask some pretty good qualifying questions around tax liability so that we understand who we're talking to. And there's some pretty easy identifiers as to certain homeowners who we know through some simple questions wouldn't have tax liability to claim that portion of an incentive. PowerPair is quite different. PowerPair incentive is a check. Homeowners are getting checks for up to $9,000 from Duke. We have several that have already received theirs. The turnaround time from that is after we have your system turned on. So that 12 weeks after you say yes and move forward with us, Duke is turning those checks around in about 8 weeks is what we're seeing right now. That could speed up, that could go down. That's pretty standard though for some rebates from Duke. Once it's approved and they know it's there, about 2 months, people are seeing the Duke incentive. There's a monthly bill credit with PowerPair that Matt mentioned. Customers are seeing that on the following billing cycle. So if you opt into that cohort, which can save you money per month on your bill as well from PowerPair, not just the up to $9,000 upfront incentive, that can hit as recently or as quickly as the month after your system goes operational directly onto your bill. I think I answered all of that question, Steve. Please keep me honest if there's something else.
Thanks. Okay, and another question about financing. Is financing for 100% of the cost of the system? Is there financing for 100% of the cost of the system?
Can be, absolutely. That's the case for a lot of instances. I'll get a little more granular here. There's a lot of customers that like to pay for this upfront. Too, we have some pretty aggressive same as cash 0% interest options. Free money lending wise is not a bad thing if you're planning on paying for it outright anyway. Can give you a little spread in liquidity. So those sometimes don't fund the entire project, but can fund it a large amount. When you go through a traditional note like we were looking at on the screen earlier, more likely than not, the pre-approval will cover the full amount.
Okay, and a follow-up to Steve's question, when do the Solarize refunds get paid? So when will the Solarize refunds be paid for those who sign contracts at the higher tier pricing?
Right, great question. So think the visual here is we looked at the pricing. It goes down over time as we grow the program, right? So a lot of people have bought at the pricing above what we're currently at, and it will not get paid out until after the end of the program. So we need to see where this program ends. We need to spread the word and get it to that lowest tier because we want to give rebate money back to as many people as possible, and then get to a point to where people will just have a very, very low initial price as well. But to answer your question, Matt, those are paid out at the end of the campaign after we have fully contracted with everyone through the program. So that would be after February of next year.
Okay, great. I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for your thoughtful questions, for your time tonight. thanks for coming out to learn more about Solarize the Triad. Matt Abel, Chris Berg, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise. Don Moreland as well. And thank you to you all. Have a great evening.